Hey, folks, how's it going? Hope you're all doing fantastic. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend thus far and a lovely start to your Sunday, or an end to your Sunday, depending on where in the world you're tuning in from. But hope you're all doing fantastic. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for hanging out today. So, for those of you that happened to catch our last stream in the 777, I think last week, you may have noticed that we had a bit of an unfortunate incident involving the number one engine. Believe it or not, the company apparently recertified our intrepid flight crew for another Etops flight just barely a week after that last major incident in the airplane. So we're back to flying another Etops Op, really long flight from here in a beautiful La Réunion in the Indian Ocean to Bangkok in Thailand. So I don't know about you folks, but I love Thai food, so I'm really looking forward to the long layover in Bangkok and getting some fantastic pad Thai and some other fine delicacies that feature in all the menus and some of the fantastic restaurants in Bangkok. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I don't anticipate anything going wrong during our 7.5-hour flight to Bangkok today. So I do apologize for the deception during the intro. The current weather conditions at La Réunion don't look anywhere near as good as what you're seeing right now. That's because I had active sky disabled for the intro. So I'm going to bring active sky back here in a second. You can hear the thunder there as active sky starts up. But as you're going to discover here in just a few seconds, yeah, it's not that great. It was raining earlier. Actually, it is raining now. So these are the kind of conditions we're going to be dealing with as we head out of La Réunion today. But hope you're all doing fantastic. Thanks for hanging out today. So let me catch up on chat. Elliot Whitworth, Race Aviation, Ben Montgomery, A320 pilot extraordinaire and Twitch streamer extraordinaire, Monster Cake, Miraj Kara, and Micah earlier. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Thanks for hanging out today. So these are the kind of conditions we're going to be taking off in tonight. Or this afternoon, rather. Let me get the sounds back on. And boarding is still going on. I think baggage has been loaded onto the airplane. Got dual jetways today. And we're going to be flying a pretty rare airline. This is Air Austral. I think they have one of the best liveries I've ever seen. At least one of the best modern liveries I've ever seen on the 777. Just looks absolutely fantastic. Love the paint job that they've done on the airplane here. But anyway, this is the beautiful airplane we're flying today. Once again, no issues anticipated en route to Bangkok. Let's talk through our game plan or our flight plan today. Ben, your stream was just great. For those of you who don't know, Ben Montgomery is a real-world A320 pilot in the UK, and he streams on Twitch. So make sure to give Ben a follow. If I remember correctly, Ben, your Twitch ID is B_simming, right? So feel free to give Ben a follow on his Twitch channel. Fantastic streamer. If you want to learn about the A320, he's your guy. So actually, we did something kind of, or I experienced something very unique yesterday with Ben. Ben actually streamed an Aerofly FS2 flight on his iPad on his Twitch channel yesterday, and he actually did a pretty good job of flying just using the iPad and demonstrating a lot of very detailed, intricate knowledge about the Airbus A320, given his real-world flying experience in the Aerofly FS2, which is something I just did not anticipate, and so that was pretty cool. Give Ben a follow. Great guy, great streamer on Twitch. All right, folks, let's talk through a game plan today as we go up to Bangkok. All right, just gonna pull up the Chrome window here. Hopefully you all can see it. All right, so here we are. We're in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and we're going to be flying from here in La Réunion. It's a French, I think, a territory that's just off the coast of Mauritius here in the Indian Ocean. So we're going to head out from Mauritius, or correction, head out from, getting ahead of myself, heading out from La Réunion. We're going to head over to Mauritius, overfly Mauritius, and then we'll head out over the Indian Ocean. About 60 minutes out from Mauritius Airport, Foxtrot India Mike Papa, we're going to be entering Etops Oceanic Airspace, and at that point we'll be flying Etops Operations until we get about 60 minutes out from Whiskey India Tango Tango on the, I think it's Banda Aceh in Indonesia, and then we're going to head up just over Phuket here, all the way up to Bangkok, Thailand. And once again, I'm really looking forward to some fantastic Thai food once we get to Bangkok, so nothing's going to stop me from getting that right on this flight. All right, and let's talk through...
Hi guys, can we start boarding now?
1 second, let me answer the flight attendant here. Go for it.
Thanks.
All right, let's get back to this. Let me just show you something here real quick. Okay. Etops Operations, right? So we're flying 180 minutes Etops. The 777 was the first airplane in the world to be certified for 180 minutes Etops right off the factory floor. So I think the 767 may have gotten 180 minutes Etops first, but that was only after many years of service, right? The 777 was the first to be certified right out of the box, right out of the factory. So 180 minutes Etops today. The 777 currently is actually certified for 330 minutes Etops, but we're going to go with 180 minutes. Depends by carrier. I'm not sure what Air Austral has. But anyway, off of Foxtrot Mike Echo Echo, Réunion Airport. And as I said, about 60 minutes out from Foxtrot India Mike Papa, that's when we're going to be entering Etops airspace. So we have our Etops entry point there. And we've got two Etops alternates to find today. Foxtrot India Mike Papa. So if we have an emergency, we're going to be diverting to that before we get to our equal time point. And after that equal time point, if we have an emergency, our Etops alternate is going to be in the Maldives, Victor Romeo Mike Golf, GAN International Airport. So this is the story. Essentially, the equal time point here, that is your decision point. If you have an emergency before that equal time point, you're going to go back to your first Etops alternate, Foxtrot India Mike Papa. If you're past that Etops equal time point, then you're going to divert to your second Etops alternate, Victor Romeo Mike Golf. So just an FYI there. And we're going to be exiting Etops Oceanic Airspace about 60 minutes out from Banda Aceh. So that is what that looks like. And what else? Actually, this might be worth talking about real quick. Not that it's going to come up at all in any way, shape, or form during the course of this stream. I just thought it'd be interesting. It's always amazing, though, how half of a flight plan is basically just NOTAMs. Actually, more than half of a flight plan is just completely full of NOTAMs. And how much do you want to bet the word COVID-19 can be found in these NOTAMs someplace? But anyway, let's disregard that. So Etops, right? For an Etops operation, you basically need to, the plane needs to be able to divert to an Etops alternate in the event of three circumstances, three distinct situations. So the first situation, which we actually had in our last flight, our last stream, is a single engine failure, right? So these are the three scenarios here. That's the first one. One engine out. Oops, 1 second. Oh, no. Hung device driver. Ah, damn it. I'm going to have to reload P3D here. Just give me a second. But that's fine. We'll just reload P3D while we talk through the flight plan and everything. I'm going to have to just exit P3D and load back up again. That's what happens whenever I have another window open, unfortunately, I've noticed. But that's no big deal. We'll just reload P3D while we're talking through our game plan today. Just give me 1 second here to reload P3D. And while that's loading up, we'll continue talking through this. Okay, so three scenarios that Etops three scenarios that you're required to plan for during Etops. First scenario, one engine out. Second scenario is one engine out with a decompression. So if you have a decompression, right, you have to descend down to sufficient altitude where people can breathe again comfortably without the need for supplemental oxygen. So you're going to descend down to flight level 100, and then you have to have enough fuel basically and enough reliability on the remaining engine if you also have an engine failure to be able to cruise on one engine with a decompression at flight level 100 or 10,000 feet all the way to your Etops alternate. So if we have an engine failure at that equal time point, let me just check on P3D here. Yeah, it's loading up. Should take another 5 minutes, hopefully. Not too much longer, hopefully. But if you have an engine failure at that equal time point, you have to be able to ensure that that engine is reliable for at least 2 hours and 6 minutes or longer, right? 2 hours and 30 minutes even in some cases for a diversion to your Etops alternate. Yeah, it's pretty crazy just how reliable these engines are required to be. So that's our second scenario. You have a dual failure. You have an engine failure combined with a decompression. And then the final scenario is all engines are still working, but you just have a decompression. So which one of these three do you think requires the most fuel consumption, right? Which one of these three do you think? It's actually right there. The answer is right there. Let me catch up on chat while that's going on. Ray's Aviation was saying, thanks to your last stream, the engine feature failure, you started using the plan failures. Awesome, Ray's. That's great. Out of curiosity, which region in the world were you, which RTEC were you in when you tried that engine failure scenario on VATSIM? Just generally curious. Micah, these are the sorts of questions we should discuss on Discord. I'm not going to discuss these sorts of questions on stream. It's inappropriate. Okay, so after midnight, hello, hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out today. You're flying over the U.S. 10 minutes past NOLA. Interesting, Rays. That's really interesting. Yeah, I need to try an engine failure scenario on VATSIM. I don't know if anybody's online in terms of ATC service in this part of the world this afternoon, but I gotta look. But anyway, nobody answered the question, but the answer is right there. The scenario that requires the most fuel usually is one of the decompression scenarios. So the scenario that requires the most fuel is the one engine out combined with a decompression. So it's a dual failure. That requires the most fuel for a diversion. So this is usually the one that kind of governs your planning. When you're planning your fuel, you usually have to plan enough fuel for that most complex and difficult scenario that has that dual failure of an engine out combined with a decompression. So there you go. So I'm not saying that this might come into play later, but just a note that that's out there, right? So there you go. Okay, just P3D loaded up. Just going to load the scenario, and hopefully this works. We'll just give it a couple of minutes here to load up. I'm really surprised we had a crash this early. 1 second. Let's just make sure everything looks good. Okay, just going to load up the sim here. All right. Okay, sim is loading up. We'll just give that a few minutes here, or a couple of minutes at least. Here we go. Ben says engine out of decompression. That is correct, Ben. How did you ever guess? Ben, have you done any sort of like Etops flying in the A320 out of curiosity? Ben says you should see your flight plans in the morning. You guess you get the whole day in one. It's huge. Yeah, I can totally imagine there, Ben. Yeah, it's nuts. And think about flight plans, right? It's so difficult, and this is true even if you're flying like a small, general aviation flight. If you're flying a cross-country general aviation flight, like in a small propeller airplane, it's amazing just the number of NOTAMs you have to review. And it's so easy to miss really, really big things in NOTAMs, right? This is what went into that major incident, near accident that they had at San Francisco a couple of years ago with the Air Canada A320. If you remember, that was coming in, I think, from Toronto, and because the NOTAM it was buried somewhere deep, deep, deep in the NOTAMs, like you see here. It was buried deep in the NOTAMs that 28 right, or correction, 28 left was closed. And so, okay, finally P3D is loaded back up. But it was buried deep in the NOTAMs that there was an issue, right? And so, one second, just got to load up Active Sky as well. One second here, let me go back to my P3D scene. There we go. Okay, it's working. But yeah, it was buried really, really deep in the NOTAMs, right? That there was a runway close, 28 left in that case.
I'm out for the
so
walk-around.
28 right was the only runway open. So they lined up on the taxiway, thinking, you know, that the lights of the taxiway were 28 right because they didn't realize 28 left was closed. And there were a whole bunch of big, you know, jets waiting to fly to Asia late at night on that taxiway, and they almost collided with the first one or the second one in that line, and they almost caused like a major accident.
Looks good.
And primarily, you know, the NTSB noted that was because of just how complex all these NOTAMs were. Okay, just gonna let
Hi guys, can we start boarding now?
go for it.
Stand by.
1 second, let me operate the jetways here. Alright, sorry about that, folks. I'm not sure why P3D crashed earlier. Hopefully we don't have a repeat of that. I'm going to try and prevent a repeat of that by not opening any more windows. So, alright. Anyway, let's close that off. Let's go back to Navigraph charts. And let's check on everything here. This is all looking good. The numbers look good. V1 150, rotate 156, V2 164. Yeah, it's all looking good here. Just love flying. Good evening to you. How you doing? Awesome race. Ben says you did a lot of engine-out and EVA tows, lots and lots of practice of everything. Yeah, I can imagine, Ben. You know, that's one of the funny things about, you know, just kind of connected to the general aviation world. You know, when you do your multi-engine training, you barely spend any time actually flying with two engines, right? Most of your multi-engine training is with simulating an engine failure. So there you go. All right, co-pilot's going to go through her pre-flight flows here. Once that's done, we can go ahead and do our departure brief, and we'll get going shortly. Let me set some things up here real quick and go through the checklist.
Wind shear ahead. Wind shear ahead.
AirU is on, verified. Status display, just want to check my oxygen here on the left side. Not, you know, your oxygen system is very important to test, right, in the event of an emergency. Not that we're going to have an emergency in any way, shape, or form. I just think it's important to test.
TCAS test.
Okay, oxygen test worked out okay. You'll hear that hissing sound, and you'll see a crosshatch showing there on the little rubber gasket thing there.
I am ready for
So
the
basically,
checklist.
if I understand this correctly, this is a little rubber gasket that inflates, and when it inflates, there's like a, you know, there's a little gap in there that kind of displays the yellow color underneath it. So that's how you get that crosshatch showing. And the hiss is kind of obvious. It's just some of the pressurized air kind of leaving the system. Okay, comm display checked, park and brake was set to park. ADAS obtained, and CDU is set up, so that's great. And my co-pilot is ready for her checklist here, so let's do a pre-flight checklist real quick. Pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Flight instrument.
Checked. Heading 226. Altimeter 1018.
Heading 226. Altimeter 1018. Parking brake.
Set.
Fuel control switches.
Cutoff.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
Actually, one other thing I meant to show you before we had that issue earlier is I want to go to the fix page here, and I've got Foxtrot India Mike Papa. That's the first Etops alternate, right? And I've got a range ring around it, a 420. So I haven't put this in here because it's the Etops alternate. I put this in here because this is the Etops entry, you know, the 60 minutes Etops entry point starts using this airport. This is the first adequate airport before we enter oceanic airspace, right? So by putting that range ring around it, you can see that range ring here. That way we know when we're entering Etops airspace once we enter. And I've got similar range rings around the Etops, you know, the 60 minutes Etops exit point around Whiskey India Tango Tango. And I need to put in VRMG, not VRMM there. That's Scan Airport. And I'm going to put in a 420-mile ring around that. Now, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, we do have Diego Garcia, but that's not available as an Etops alternate anymore. It used to be available, but I guess for national security or whatever, you know, security reasons, it's no longer available as an Etops alternate for commercial aircraft ops, at least according to the EOPA the last time I checked. All right, let's go ahead and do our departure briefing here, and we'll get going shortly. Give me a second here. I'm just going to pull up my charts. Okay, and let me very quickly save the flight here. This is just going to take a couple of secs. The screen's going to remain blank while I save the flight. Just give that a couple more secs there. Might take about 10 more seconds, actually. It's going to stay dark for a little while. That's right, Ben, totally. Ben says you're off to Krakow in the morning. Yeah, totally. That's crazy, Ben. 4 a.m. Yikes. Yeah, well, you have a good time, Ben. Enjoy yourself in Poland. Get lots of pierogies, right? Have fun. Okay, let's do our departure briefing here. Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
All right, this is going to be a standard left seat takeoff off of runway 12 with takeoff flap set to 15 degrees and reduced takeoff thrust at an assumed temp of 45 degrees. V-speeds 150, 156, 164. And let's take a look very quick at the weather here at Foxtrot Mike Echo Echo. Here we go. The weather at one second, actually. Active sky is acting up. Just give it a second. I'm gonna have to pull this up another way. Yeah, active sky froze on me. I don't know why. Anyway, okay, the weather at Réunion Airport, winds 140 at 4 knots, so essentially calm, variable between 110 and 190. Visibility greater than 10 kilometers. Ceilings broken at 3,900 and 5,200 and 6,200. Cumulonimbus clouds reported. Temperature 21, dew point 18. Altimeter 1018. Rain showers becoming scattered clouds 300 and ceilings broken 7,000 a bit later. So we got all that. All right, and I do have wet runway calculations in our takeoff, so we're all good there. All right, so we're located at gate 4 and pretty straightforward taxi route. We're just gonna push back with the nose facing to the west there, and then we're gonna taxi down Charlie, enter the runway, backtrack on 12, and flip around on 12 and get ready for departure on 12. And during the departure, any malfunctions before V1, such as engine failure, fire, loss of control, aircraft unsafe to fly, I'm going to call a reject to stop the takeoff, brake, exit off the runway if able, and advise ATC. Any malfunctions after V1, we're going to continue the takeoff and treat it as an in-flight emergency. I'm going to handle the controls and advise ATC, and you back me up with the appropriate QRH procedures. Pending that, we're going to be departing via the Sobat 4 Echo departure. Sorry, I can't show you the chart. I'm kind of worried about another sim crash. It doesn't seem to like me opening up Chrome at the same time today for some reason. But the departure is pretty straightforward for Sobat 4 Echo. Essentially, correction, it's not the Sobat 4 Echo. I apologize. It's the Flick and Flock for Charlie. Flick and Flock for Charlie. That's the name of an NDB on Mauritius. So we're going to be taking off on 1-2. Let's go to the plan page here so you can see it a little better. I'm going to zoom in. Oops, not that much. Okay. Let me just show you here. Okay, so we're just going to take off, climb on a heading of 106. Going to set my heading bug here to 106. To 470 feet, then a left turn on a 025 track. So you know what, I'm actually going to set my heading bug to 025 because we're going to be turning to 025 just 500 feet above the ground basically. So it's better to set that heading here just in case we need it later. Okay, heading bug set at 025, then we're going to intercept the La Réunion VOR 070 radial, and then at 20 DME we're going to turn right to intercept the 095 bearing to Flick and Flack. And that's that said procedure. MSA 6,900 feet to the north, 12,000 feet to the south, within 25 nautical miles of the La Réunion VOR. And this set does require a minimum climb gradient of 310 feet per nautical mile up to the minimum safe altitude. And I think we got all that.
Guys,
Special considerations.
Have a safe flight.
Thank you. Special considerations, we do have rain today, so we got to keep that in mind. Wet runway, but we've taken that into account in our takeoff calculations. So we're all good there. Transition altitude is going to be 12,000, so I'm going to set that here in the VNAV page, 12,000 feet. There we go, that's set. And let's go ahead and go back to that page. And we'll go back to the map page up here. Let's go back to 20 on the range, and I think we're all set. Ben, indeed I will. So Ben, if it's not, it might be unlisted, so just look for my Boarding Now playlist on my channel, and you should be able to find it there. So it should be available there. All right, so we're all set here. Let's get going. Just gonna fast forward just a little bit here. And I have to close the #1 door actually on the left side. Give me a second. Actually, that's, the door closed on its own. That's a little surprising. Usually it requires me to have to do that. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, let me catch up on chat here real quick. I know I missed a ton earlier. Ray was saying you started doing another situation, but your sim crashed. Yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't happen today because we've already had one sim crash. Always one technical difficulty or of a sort or another, right, on these streams. It's so difficult to have a stream that has 0 technical issues, unfortunately. Oh boy. All right. Okay, thankfully, active sky has unfrozen, so that's good news. Okay, let's get ready to go here.
Alright guys, everyone's seated, we're all buttoned up and ready to go in the back.
Thanks, it'll be a short
If
taxi.
you need anything, just let me know.
Alright. Before start procedure. Before start procedure.
Are we cleared to pressurize?
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
Can we pressurize the hydraulics?
Roger, you are cleared to pressurize the hydraulics.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, clear to pressurize. Gonna request the pushback here. Prepare for pushback and departure. Okay, pushback tug is gonna start moving into position there. There it is. We're gonna get the super tug today. Appropriate given how large this airplane is. Rays, no, thankfully not. Actually, I figured out what was causing that earlier. It was that scene, that collection of scenes for some reason was not detecting the right microphone. Go figure. I don't know why that was the case, but it is. 1 second, let me set my trim here.
We are ready for pushback.
4.75 units, that's set. Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Flight deck door. Closed and locked. Passenger signs. On. MCP.
Locking gear.
comes. Altitude, flight level 350.
Takeoff speeds.
V2 164.
CDU pre-flight.
Completed.
Completed. Trim.
4.8 units, 0 and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Beacon. On. Before start checklist complete.
Okay, before start checklist complete, let's figure out where we want to push to. I think I'm going to push to about here, because we want to be facing to the west. That way we can taxi down Charlie there to 12, backtrack on 12, and we should be all good to go. Okay, that's a good position.
Departure check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes.
Okay, parking brake released. Going to start my clock.
Start at will.
Co-pilot's going to start hard clock right before we take off. Start sequence is 2, then 1.
Check.
Start engine 2.
Starting 2.
Okay, co-pilot's turning number 2 there. Start switch has been pulled. Oil pressure coming up. As soon as I see an oil pressure indication, I can move the fuel control switch into run. Co-pilot's going to call out oil pressure as well. N2 coming up there. And let's listen to the sounds of those engines starting up. We had some sound issues in the last stream, so folks couldn't hear those sounds, unfortunately. So let's listen to those sounds of those engines. Just amazing. One of the things you cannot fault with PMDG aircraft is the sound modeling. They do an amazing job with the sounds. I think FS Labs does the best job of all the major study level airliner developers in terms of really, really good sound quality. But PMDG does a pretty good job as well. Okay, and these engines start up super quick. There we go. Good start on number 2. Let's go ahead and start up number 1. Start engine 1.
Starting 1.
Okay, number 1 starting up. Start switch has been pulled. Oil pressure. Fuel control switch to run on number 1. And 2 coming up.
Set parking brake.
Parking brake set. Let's go ahead and watch and listen to number 1 start up. Oh yeah, love these sounds for sure. They are really amazing.
Unlocking gear. Tow track disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Yeah, the GE90s are really, really quite something for sure. I agree with that. You know, it really is amazing considering that this airplane was certified with 3 different engine options, right? So the Pratt Whitneys, the GE engines, obviously, and Rolls-Royce engines as well. And that's kind of, you know, that sort of commodification of engines. That paradigm is going away. Okay, good start on number 1 as well. Engine has stabilized. Flaps 15.
Flaps 15.
That sort of commodification of engines, right, where you had multiple suppliers of engines for a different for a single airframe. I think that's going to start going out of fashion more and more. If I remember correctly, the 777X is only certified for 1 engine type, right, from 1 manufacturer. Just because they're so tightly integrated, it's hard for them to have like multiple engine suppliers on 1 engine. I'm not sure if that's what I read, at least. I'm not sure if that's the actual case, or if they are planning on working with more engine suppliers to have other options. But my guess is, because these engines and airframes are so tightly integrated these days in terms of their design, that we're going to see more and more, you know, that you basically have just 1 engine type per aircraft. Like if you look at all the problems that they had with the Rolls-Royce engines on, I think, the 787, for instance, it's so hard these days, right, to go through that full new airframe development process with multiple engines. Okay, anyway, let's go through our flight controls check here. So let me pull up the yoke there, full left, There we go. Full right. There we go. Neutral. Full up. Full down. Neutral. And let's hide the yoke away. Let's go full left on the rudder. Full right on the rudder. Neutral. There we go. That's done. Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Anti-ice. Auto. Recall. Checked. Auto brake. RTO. Flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Before taxi checklist complete.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Okay, we're clear on the left and right. We can start taxiing out here, and I'm going to start, I'll catch up on chat as we start taxiing out here. Active Runway, how's it going? Roland Sibbering, how you doing? Haven't seen your name in a while. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Race, that's what I thought. I thought that was the case, that it was just going to be one engine type. Raphael Frances, how's it going? Raphael, I have no idea. That's a great question. It's really, really hard to guess with PMDG because they have a capability to surprise you, does PMDG. So I'm not even going to venture a guess. All I can tell you is what I hope it'll be. I hope it's going to be the 787. But for all I know, it could be the 757, or it could be even like an old school airplane, like a 727 or 707. That could be pretty cool as well. Before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 15.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Runway entry procedure.
Check.
Okay, entering a couple of active runways here. So they have intersecting runways at Réunion Airport. They've got runway 14 and runway 12. We're going to hang a left here onto 12 because that's the longest runway. And that's the runway we've done our takeoff performance calculations for. So 12 is going to be a departure runway. It's 10,500 feet long, and we should have a sufficient margin of safety with our current flex setting. Flex setting. Assumed temp setting. I'm using Airbus lingo on a Boeing airplane. Quiche quiche. All right. ML, how's it going? ML, that's not really true. My understanding is that PMDG is going to start the development of the new aircraft type while some of their resources have to be, put on the back burner for MSFS due to the lack of the capabilities of the current SDKs in MSFS. By the way, for those of you that weren't on our last stream, I mentioned that, who was it? Fly Purdue on Twitch coined MISFIS as the appropriate short form of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Of course, you can continue using MSFS or MFS, but I like MISFIS a lot. I think that's a great term. That's a great short form of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So going forward, if you hear me referring to MISFIS, that's what I'm going to be referring to is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, getting lined up here. All right, one thing I'm going to do here real quick whilst we get ready to go. Alias, how's it going? Coming back to what I was saying earlier, ML, while the SDK is being fleshed out, it sounds like what PMDG was describing was they have a lot of resources now that have been freed up. And so they're going to use some of those resources to continue developing whatever their idea was for the new aircraft type that they plan to introduce some point down the road. Now, whether that's going to be for MISFIS or whether that's going to be for P3D, I don't know. My guess is it's probably going to be P3D version 5 initially, and then porting over to MISFIS. Because right now, the SDK is kind of limited. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but that PMDG had to delay the release of the NG3, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, folks, I'm going to do something here real quick. Actually, a couple of things. First of all, if you noticed, ceilings are kind of low today, and it is raining, so you know what that means, right? You know what that means. That means that we're going to be flying on instruments. You know what that means.
2 more minutes. Particularly miles, of course. That's impossible. We're on instruments.
That's right. We're eventually going to be flying on instruments. So I love that clip from Airplane. So I'm going to do something here real quick. Let me put you on the be right back screen. I'm right here, and I promise you, absolutely nothing's going on in the background while I put you on the be right back screen. I'm just getting myself a quick refill of my cup of coffee, and I promise you, I'm doing absolutely nothing, folks. I'm doing absolutely nothing in the failures menu in the CDU here. I'm doing absolutely nothing in the failures menu. I promise you that. Just refilling my cup of coffee while that's going on, and I'm doing absolutely nothing in the failures menu here. Just give me another 30 seconds or so once again to do absolutely nothing in the failures menu. Once again, I am absolutely committed to a pretty long 7.5 hour flight to Bangkok. As I said before, I'm totally looking forward I am totally looking forward, to eating some fantastic Thai food. So nothing's going to happen at all, right? So I'm doing absolutely nothing in the failures menu while that's going on. Just give me 15 more seconds here to do absolutely nothing in the failures menu. Okay, that's looking good, and it's. Just give me a couple more seconds here. One momentino. All right, we're looking good. Okay, back to the P3D scene here. Nothing's happening, folks. Nothing's happening. I was just doing some exactly, Monster Cake. I was just doing some tasks in the cockpit. You know what happened? I just had a bit of a coffee spill, so I was just kind of cleaning up, right? Always want to make sure that's clean and presentable. Your flight deck, you want to make sure it's as clean and as presentable as possible. So I didn't want to bother you fine folks on stream while I cleaned up the coffee spill I just had. Okay, that's done. Let's get going here, folks. I think we're all ready to go. All right, takeoff. Takeoff.
Check.
Okay, off we go. Engine stabilized. Thrust ref.
Check. Thrust set.
Checked.
80 knots.
Checked. Hold.
Check.
I wasn't doing anything, I promise. I wasn't doing anything in the failures menu.
V1.
Rotate.
There we go. Off the ground, going to continue pitching up here to 15 degrees.
Positive.
Wow, look at that airplane go. Gear up.
Check. 400.
Gear up.
Climb.
Checked. Look at that airplane go. Beautiful island, beautiful livery on the airplane too. Flaps 5. Flaps 5.
Speed check. Flaps 5.
Okay, autopilot engaged there. That'll help us take a load off. Flaps 1.
Speed check. Flaps 1.
How's it going, Eddie Gaming? Hope you're doing well. Alright, wow, look at this. Just spectacular. Say goodbye to La Réunion, folks. We may or may not see this again during the course of this stream. You know, if you got another 15 hours to spare, we might see it again on a return leg, right? Flaps up.
Speed check. Flaps up.
Okay, flaps up. Airframe is being cleaned up. We're climbing all the way up to flight level 350 today. That's our cruising flight level. And should have gotten the weather radar on earlier, just got it on now. But up we go, folks. We're climbing up to flight level 350. I am looking forward to some Thai food in Bangkok. Cannot wait. That's right, Rays. You're totally not going to see this airport again. Totally not going to see this airport again. In fact, I'm going to start a poll on whether or not we're going to see this airport again. Are we going to see this airport again, right? Let's start a poll. Actually, wait, I can't, it's it's a lot more complicated than it used to be. I need to open up CloudBot. Ah, never mind. Not worth it. Michael Bay, how's it going? Just wondering, when does the APU turn on after landing? Michael, I'm not a real-world 777 pilot, but I'm guessing it's company-specific, you know? It depends on your company, and it also depends on where you're flying into, whether or not they have a GPU available at the gate, right? But let's say you don't intend to use the GPU at the gate, you probably turn it on as you're cleaning up after your landing. So as you're taxiing to the gate during your cleanup, that's probably when you start up your APU. Quite likely it's probably an item in your checklist. Once again, it's company specific, but it's probably going to be an item in your checklist, in your after landing checklist. Now, if you plan to use the GPU and if you plan to use, you know, the air conditioning cart at the gate, you probably don't need to turn on your APU. You wait until the GPU is connected, then you can shut down your engines, and then the air conditioning ducts are connected to the airplane to provide some external air. That would be my guess. Josie, how's it going? Indeed, I do, Josie. Michael, absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to getting to Thailand. Yeah, hopefully it helps. Once again, as I said, you know, I'm not a real-world 777 pilot, but that would be my guess on how that would go, right?
10,000 feet.
Okay, through 10,000, landing lights are coming off. We're already in the clouds. Already in the clouds, waiting for the textures to pop in. So you know what that means, since we're in the clouds, right? We're in the clouds, you know what that means.
2 more minutes. They could be miles off course.
That's impossible. They're on instruments.
That's right, folks. We're flying on instruments. If you squint real hard and you look behind us, you can spot Leslie Nielsen and the band helping us fly on instruments here. Mo, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Oh, I forgot. I should have gone back. I should have gone back to my streaming window. Oh boy, it was stuck on Leslie Nielsen and the band there. But what I was doing was, I totally missed that. I was saying, if you squint real hard and look back here, you can see Leslie Nielsen and the band helping us fly on instruments, right? So there you go. Jeannie Vinook, or Jury Vinook. Yes, indeed it is. It is version 4.5. I never got version 5. I just didn't feel a need to get it, so yeah. Alright, let me catch up on chat as we keep going here. Ray says the 707 or 727 would be amazing. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It would be nice to see them just through a transition there, 12,000 feet. So now we're up in the flight levels. Transition altitude in this part of the world is 12,000 feet. And we can go ahead and turn those seat belts to auto there. So let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, so coming back to chat, yeah, totally. A 707 or a 727 would certainly be good. I agree with that. That would be fantastic. I would, you know, I love, not many people do, but I love the PMDG DC-6. So I would be a big fan of PMDG, you know, bringing us more kind of, you know, classic, you know, classic jets or classic, you know, props or pistons or, you know, aircraft from back in the day. You know, the DC-6 was a great airplane. It's criminally underrated in my view, but the DC-6 from PMDG is a fantastic airplane. So I absolutely would not mind a 707 or a 727. Between those two, I would strongly prefer the 707 because I've got the FlyJSim 727 and X-Plane, and I think that works fantastic. So the 707 would be great if they brought that. But, you know, I think most folks would probably hope for the 787 is my guess. Roland earlier was saying you love the island, you've been there once. That's awesome, Roland. Sorry I missed that earlier. So, Roland, what's the weather like in La Réunion? Is it tropical or is it a bit more temperate? Just kind of curious. After midnight earlier was saying Etops lifted restrictions, began the decline of quad-engine airplanes. Yeah, totally. After I agree with that. We've talked about that a bit on stream. A bit on chat, rather, in past streams. Yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment. Yeah, quad-engine airplanes for sure are out the door, right, because of everything that's going on in the world today. You know, the market constriction due to COVID, you know, just everything is definitely pointing to the decline of big 4-engine jets, for sure. Agree with that. Raphael earlier was saying you're hoping for either the MD-11 or an ET-20. Well, yeah, it would be nice to have somebody do that, right? Either the MD-11, an ET-20, or an A380, right? I think, who was it that was working on the A380? I think it was Inibils that was working on the A380. And I think it was TFDI that was working on the MD-11. Yeah, those will all be great to see. Totally, Jerry. I agree. These are fantastic. Any gaming? I've never heard anything about the 737 MAX. PMDG has never mentioned bringing that to their stable of aircraft, so I've never heard anything from PMDG about that. Lokestar, hello, how you doing, Lokestar? Omar, how has life been treating you? I think it's the first time I've seen you in a couple of weeks. I hope you're doing fantastic, my friend. Michael Bay is saying it's 4 a.m. in Bangkok right now. Holy cow, Michael. Michael, yeah, thanks for staying up so late to watch us, though. I do appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying it at least. Mo was asking if I programmed Etops. Indeed, I did, Mo. So we talked about that a little bit at the start of the stream. So all that stuff has been programmed in here. So we've got our range rings put in the fix page. So we've got our first adequate airport here. Foxtrot, India, Mike, Papa in Mauritius. We've got that programmed in. And let me show you this here real quick since we got a little bit of time. You know, after all, it's a 7.5-hour stream. What else are we going to do, right? Nothing's going to happen, I promise you. Nothing's going to happen at all in the next 30 to 45 minutes or so. But anyway, we got a range ring, about an hour's flight time around Foxtrot, India, Mike, Papa. Then another range ring around WITT, Banda Aceh, or Banda Aceh, rather. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. If Michael's still on. How do you pronounce the name of that city in Indonesia? But we've got a range ring around that, and that range ring denotes our Etops exit point. And then we've also got our other adequate airport, which is Gan International in the Maldives. So we got that programmed in. And if you go to the route page, by the way, this is always helpful. If you go to Route 2, I've got... Whoa, what happened here? Oh, the sim crashed, that's why. I had this programmed in earlier. I'm going to do this right now, actually, since we have a bit of time. This is always useful. I had this programmed in earlier, but the sim crashed, so we totally missed it. Why can't I put that in? It's no big deal. We'll just put in here. Let's put in FI and P. Let's see if that works. Nope, that does not work at all. But I had this programmed in earlier. Essentially what you do is you put in your origin and destination, and then in the middle of that you can put in your alternates. So first alternate is going to be FIMP. I don't think this is going to work. No, it's not. That sucks. Yeah, this... Let's see if this works. Yeah, the sim crashed earlier, but I had this programmed in before, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to put in Route 2. But here's what you would do, right, in Route 2. You would put in your origin and destination, you'd put in your Etops alternate, then your equal time point, second Etops alternate, and then your whatever other alternates and equal time points you have, and your final destination. So that way, you know, you'll have that nicely overlaid on your Route 1 legs here as you fly along. So it looks pretty good. Unfortunately, because I had a sim crash earlier, all those waypoints disappeared. Oh well, what can you do? Anyway, let's forget about that. Let's go back to our progress page. Got another 64 nautical miles to go to our top of climb, and we'll be reaching our top of climb at 0423 Zulu. It's 0416 Zulu, so 7 minutes from now is when we reach our top of climb. Flight level 350. All right, folks, sit back, relax. Hope you're enjoying your in-flight service. In-flight meal service, rather. And hope you're all having a good time. Once again, we're all settled back here for a 7.5-hour flight to Bangkok, Thailand. Your flight crew is your flight crew are big Thai food aficionados. Really looking forward to some fantastic Thai food once we get to Bangkok. And there ain't nothing that's going to come in the way of that right today. Let me catch up on chat here. Lokestar, I did a little bit actually last week, so that was great. How are you? How's life been treating you? Yeah, Lokestar, I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was just like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Is this really happening? I just couldn't believe it was happening. So that was really unfortunate. And it was kind of a weird sim crash too. It was kind of a video card out of memory crash. So I'm not entirely sure what prompted that, but we had that earlier. That sucked. Alright, continue to climb up here to flight level 350. MO, that's a good idea actually. Let me see if I can do that. You know, I don't understand though why it's still I think once we're in the air, maybe it just doesn't let me do it. Actually, 1 second. I put in the wrong... 1 second. You know, I don't really need to do this. I can nah, it's not going to work. I can demonstrate this on a future flight. It doesn't really matter. Oh, there it is. Okay, now it's copied. All right, but I got to delete every single one of these, which is unfortunate. I got to delete all this crap because I don't need it in Route 2. Yeah, so it just takes far too long, you know, to get rid of all this. I think I actually got to go here and delete it. Yeah. So it just takes far too long to go through all this. But we do have a little bit of time, so let me demonstrate just a little bit of this actually, because it's a fun exercise. You know, it's good to do. Oh boy, this is painful. I gotta delete every single one of these waypoints. Is there a way to just clear everything at once? Is there a way to just clear all of these at once? I'm not sure. I don't think there is. I think I gotta go through every single one of these. Okay, we're down to only 3 pages, folks. Only 3 pages. Let me give you some external shots while we're doing that. That way, at least you have something nice to look at. This is a fantastic livery. I think Air Austral knocked it out of the park with this livery for sure. There is the beautiful island of Mauritius. Once again, you know, I hope you take in the sights here as we fly over Mauritius. We're currently over... Where are we? We're currently over Port Louis in Mauritius, if I got that right. Take a good look at this beautiful island, because you know, we're not going to see it again for the next you know, day at least, right? So because absolutely nothing's going to happen. As the stream title says, no failures anticipated. Just continuing to delete all these waypoints. I really wish that sim crash hadn't happened. That really sucks that happened earlier. So I'm not going to mess around with, you know, showing you guys anything on Chrome or iPad or things like that. Okay, anyway, let me show you what we do. So let's go back into the flight deck here. So I'm going to put in our first alternate here, Foxtrot, India, Mike, Papa, right? And then I'm going to put in our first Etops point, the equal, not equal Etops point, but the first equal time point, ETP, equal time point. So that's going to be south. 1 second. I got to pull it up here. I gotta pull that up. Give me a second here to pull it up. So whatever that equal time point is, I'm gonna pull that up and we're gonna put that in. There we are. Okay, it's south 1308.3, south 1308.3, and then it's east 06900.7, east 06900.7. So that's our first equal time point. So I'm going to put that there. And then after that, I'm going to put in VMRG. That's our second Etops alternate. GAN International in the beautiful Maldives. Victor Mike Romeo Golf. Going to put that in. Hold on. Was it GAN or hold on? Alternates. Oh, all this stuff got screwed up because my sim crashed. 1 second. Victor, what was it? Victor Mike Golf Romeo, I think. No. What was it? What was it? It was right here. Victor Romeo Mike Golf. Jeez. Mixing up all my alphabets today. Victor Mike Romeo. Oh, come on. Victor Romeo Mike Golf. Yeah, I got that correct. Oh, I got to put it in there. That's why. Okay. That's why. Okay, so, right, so I've basically got a thing that parallels this, right? So I've got, if I go to my plan page, if I zoom out, I'm going to have
1,000 feet to level off.
coming up on flight level 350 here. 1 second. Just going to zoom in here so you can see a little better. But we're going to have Route 2 overlaid on Route 1 there. So that's there for some additional kind of guidance. So just going to step through this. So you see that's our equal time point right there. So that's highlighted. So we have that. So that way we'll know, you know, in case something happens along the way, where we essentially have to make a decision on either turning back to our first Etops alternate or continuing on to the second Etops alternate. And then we got Victor Romeo Mike Golf. Then I'm going to put in our final adequate airport here, which is close to our Etops exit point, and that's Whiskey India Tango Tango. So I'm going to put that in. So then we've got that. So we can step through to that, and that'll take us from there on to obviously, you know, we're going to be flying over land at that point, continuing on to Bangkok. So that's basically how you'd set up the Route 2 page. This is my understanding. Once again, I'm not a real-world 777 pilot, but this is my understanding as how you would set up the Route 2 page. And of course, let me go back to map there, zoom back in a little bit. And of course, Route 1. Okay, we're at our cruising level of flight level 350. And of course, you know, one other thing I do is set up my alternates, right? So I'm going to set up Victor Romeo Mike Golf. So I've got my alternates here in my alternates page. So in case I need to access that for any reason at some point down the road, I can access that. Not that that's going to happen. I don't anticipate anything happening at all today, folks. I don't anticipate anything happening. This is going to be an uneventful 7.5-hour flight to Bangkok, Thailand. It's going to be fun. All right, Lokestar was saying you're doing a complete reinstall of FS since today you had some free time. Awesome, Lokestar. That's great. Not fun, but at least you got some free time to do it, right? 1 second, the screen's going to go blank here while I quickly create a save point. Always want to do that, because the last thing we want to do is go through that full departure procedure again in case we have a sim crash for any reason, right? So the screen's going to remain blank here for just a few more seconds while this sim loads back up. There we go. Sim is back. All right, folks. How's everybody doing in chat? Hope you're all doing fantastic. Now, let's see. You know, last stream in the 777, you know, we didn't tempt fate at all by doing some light reading regarding QRH procedures and engine failures and drift downs, right? So let's once again totally not tempt fate by discussing. You know, I'm not going to be able to pull out the reading material, unfortunately, because of the sim crash we had earlier. But let's at least discuss something called hypoxia. How many of you in chat know what hypoxia is? What is hypoxia? Going once, going twice. Does nobody have an answer? Ray says you do. What is hypoxia, Ray's Aviation? What is hypoxia? And why is it important when you're flying? By the way, does everybody remember what time we took off? What was the time on the clock? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember exactly. There we go. No oxygen. Yeah, so that's the race was absolutely right. It's the lack of oxygen in your blood, so it decreases brain function. That's totally it. Yeah, MO is correct as well. So, as a lowly, real-world private pilot, it's not something you deal with too often unless you fly really, really high. But typically, right, when you get higher, the partial pressure of oxygen in the air drops. So because of that reduced pressure of the air, the reduced partial pressure of the oxygen in the air, you're not getting as much oxygen as you need to ensure that your body and your brain especially are functioning the way they need to be. So as you get higher, and if you're not using supplementary oxygen, if you're not in a pressurized cabin at really high altitudes, you start suffering some of the, you start being impaired by the effects of what's called hypoxia, right? So that's what hypoxia is. So I actually had a chance to go to one of these FAA sort of, they have this portable, I'm not sure what you call it, like a portable oxygen, reduced oxygen chamber. So it's not a reduced, it's not like an actual hyperbaric chamber, right, or hyper, whatever they call it, chamber, where they actually reduce the real pressure of the oxygen. In this case, it's just an enclosed chamber at sea level or wherever, they've transported to, where they reduce the amount of oxygen in that chamber. They change the ratio of oxygen to other gases in that chamber. So it was a really cool thing. You go into this chamber with an instructor and with like 5 or 6 other people, and they give you a pulse oximeter. I wish I could show you a picture, but I'm super worried about a sim crash if I pull up Chrome again. But they give you a pulse oximeter that you put on your finger, and that measures your blood oxygen level. And they give you a sheet with a bunch of, which a bunch of like math calculations, and it's also got a little thing that lets you tick off the symptoms that you're experiencing as you simulate going up into higher air and thinner air, right? So it's super cool exercise. It kind of teaches you what symptoms you can expect if you enter an environment where you might experience hypoxia. So in my case, right, the symptoms that I wrote down were, I'm trying to remember, this was a few years ago, but it was like a tingling sensation, like a numbing, like first a tingling sensation in my extremities, and then a numbing feeling in my lips, and then, you start to feel a little drunk if you stay long enough. You start to feel like, you're losing your inhibitions, right? The way you feel when you're drunk, you actually feel that when you get hypoxic. So hypoxia is actually one of the most dangerous things you can experience when you're flying, because you don't really recognize or realize that you're experiencing it until it's far too late. Because it usually happens very, very slowly. The situation that we may or may not simulate during this flight, which is a rapid decompression, it's super rare. Typically you have very slow, gradual onset of decompression and depressurization. And so you don't realize it's happening. And so it's super easy to get, to allow it to happen to you, and by the time it's fully set in, you're already unconscious, or you already lack the ability to respond to it in a coherent way. So it's a super, super risky thing for pilots, right? And up here in the high flight level 300s, right, essentially, you probably have about, I'm going to guess, about 5 to 10 minutes or even less before you go unconscious. Probably less than 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes before you go unconscious, and then your body just stops functioning. So hypoxia is a super, super scary thing for pilots, that you're always kind of aware of. So if you experience a decompression or a loss of cabin pressure, the most important thing is to get your airplane down as quickly as possible, right? So let's say we have a multiple failure scenario. Not saying that's going to happen, but let's say we lose an engine, and we have an uncontained engine failure that causes one of the fan blades or some shrapnel to go through the fuselage and cause a rapid decompression. What do we have? We have a decompression and we have an engine failure. That's a lot to deal with at one point. But what you got to do is you got to realize you got to break down the problem into steps. The first and most important thing from a safety point of view is making sure the pilots can fly the airplane. If there's a rapid decompression, the first thing you're going to do is put on that oxygen mask, right? So the oxygen mask is right there. You're going to put on that oxygen mask. Then you're going to check to make sure that the passenger oxygen system is on. In the event of a decompression of this airplane, the passenger oxygen system will turn on automatically. And then, if there's an engine failure, you want to make sure that the airplane is flying properly, right? That the rudder trim is kicking in, there's no undesired yaw, and then what we're going to do is immediately initiate a descent down to 10,000 feet back to thicker air so that everybody can breathe again, right? So why do you allow yourself that time staying at 350 before you start that descent? Because there is the passenger oxygen system, and you have oxygen as well in the cockpit. So the most important thing is to make sure that everybody can breathe first. Then you want to fly the airplane, and then you can get it down lower. And then once we've started that descent and we're established safely in a descent, then we can go through our engine-out memory items and checklist. So that's what that looks like. And hey, what do you know? Oh my God, we just lost an engine. So we've got an engine failure number 1, and we've got a cabin altitude warning. So I'm just going to address that master caution. First thing we're going to do is don the oxygen mask. How about that? So we're going to don the oxygen mask, make sure that's on. Going through the cabin altitude memory items here. Going to go up top here, make sure the passenger oxygen switch is on. I'm going to hold that for 1 second and release it, make sure it is on. And then what we're going to do is immediately start a descent. So I'm going to roll my altitude selector down to 10,000 here. Oh boy, 10,000. And then I'm going to go to flight level change. I'm going to go with the throttles to idle. And I'm going to go to VMO, maximum airspeed. And I'm going to get the speed brakes out. I want to start a descent as rapidly as I possibly can to get down to lower, thicker air. Okay, now we can get the auto throttles back on. And I can turn off the left auto throttle because we had an engine failure on the left engine. Okay, now we can go through our checklist here. It's a non-normal checklist. Let's go through the engine fail checklist. Thrust is lost on both engines, no. So left auto throttle arm switch is off. Left throttle lever is an idle. We've set that in idle because we've started an emergency descent. Fuel control switch confirm left, confirm, and cut off. Okay. And restart is needed, no. And we had engineer severe damage. Just looking through the engine indications here. Yeah, we have absolutely nothing turning, so the engine is catastrophically failed here. There's no possibility of a relight. So I'm going to pull the fire switch there. I'm not going to discharge the bottles, but I'm just going to pull that. That way I can disconnect any hydraulic lines, bleed air lines, etc. to that engine. Very important to do, because if that engine is catastrophically failed, you don't know what's back there that could be leaking, right? So let's continue through the checklist here. Engine fail left. Okay, let's go to number 5. Both engines run normally, no. Fuel control switch to cut off. APU selector, if available, start then on. So let's go ahead and start the APU here. By the way, I really wish I had the Darth Vader breathing sound effect here. In fact, I could probably pull that up real quick. Let's listen to we got to give you the full immersion, right? The full experience here. So 1 second. Okay, APU selector available, start then on, and then APU selector has been started, or APU has been started rather. It is starting up, and let's move the transponder mode selector to TA only. Reason we do that is because with one engine out, we did not have the performance to comply with the resolution advisory should one come up. Let me give you the full immersive sound here. Since we're breathing through our oxygen masks, you got to be able to hear that. There we go. There we go. Oh yeah. Can you hear that? So that's what it sounds like through the oxygen mask. Okay. Okay. Anyway, we're descending down to flight level 2, try level 10,000 rather. I'm going to continue to roll my speed selector here to my VMO, maximum permissible airspeed, because we want to descend as quickly as we can down to 10,000. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start turning back to plan to land in the nearest suitable airport. So let's go to our alternate page here. We'll divert to Mauritius. That's the closest suitable airport, and I do not want to be spending any extra time with one engine out at 10,000 feet going all the way back to our original, like our origin airport of La Réunion. So we'll divert now to Foxtrot India Mike Papa, divert now, and execute. Okay, there we go. We're heading back now to Mauritius. There we go, descending through 19,700 feet there. And we're continuing to return. How's everybody doing in chat? That's right, Micah. That's right. Sorry for the deception, folks. I was totally messing around in the failures menu right before we take off. Okay. Just gonna read off the items up here. Cabin altitude, engine shutdown, auto throttle left. Okay, let's continue through the checklist here. Plan to land in the nearest suitable airport. We're gonna land using flaps 20, yes. Let's go to page 2, or page 6 rather. Ground proximity flap override, switch to override. Let's turn that on. Oh, that's set. And engine fail left, checklist is complete. All right, that's done. Let's close that off. And we're continuing back towards Mauritius here. All right, I got to pull up the charts for Mauritius and figure out what we're going to do. If they were landing on 1-4, we're probably going to plan on the gap key 1. But here we go. We're coming up on 10,000 here super quick. At this point, by the way, we're starting to get back into thicker air where passengers can start sort of breathing normally. But ideally, we want to be all the way down to 10,000. So we're just going to head all the way down to 10,000 there. That's right, Monster Cake. You've been tricked. You've been backstabbed. You've quite possibly been bamboozled. I can't believe, can you believe there's gambling going on in this establishment, right? Can you believe it? Okay, anyway, continue your descent here. We're to 12,000. At about 1,500 feet above my target altitude, I'm going to go ahead and, actually right now, I'm going to go ahead and retract the speed brake. And I'm going to make sure that okay, 10,000 there. There we go, right speed selector is on. I'm going to slow down to my Etops diversion speed at 320 knots. I think that's what I had computed earlier. And at this point, by the way, we can take the masks off. We've reached our altitude, so you're no longer going to hear me breathing like Darth Vader. I promise that was actually me breathing like Darth Vader this entire time. That's how good of a streamer I am, folks. I can give you that full immersion. A little late, granted, but I can give you that full immersion, unlike other streamers, right? So yeah, that was actually a clip from YouTube. Not really a clip. That was a 10-hour video on YouTube. Nothing but the sound of Darth Vader breathing. So that's what you heard there. And sure enough, right? Knowing Disney, I'm sure I'm going to get a copyright strike just for playing Darth Vader breathing. Wouldn't that be something? Awesome, Micah. I'm glad to hear that. That's right, Lokestar. That's right. Alright, so we're continuing on here. We're going direct to Foxtrot India Mike Papa. Let's start setting some things up for the arrival, right? And the reason we want to do that, and I really wish I could show you this, but I'm afraid of a sim crash. Essentially, Mauritius is kind of a mountainous island, and we got to go all the way around in order to be able to land on the runway that I want to land on, which is 14. Let me check on the weather here at Mauritius real quick, just to make sure I had the correct runway in mind. Yeah, it definitely favors a landing on 1-4. So we're going to land on 1-4 here. Let's go ahead and start setting some things up. So I'm going to go to departure arrival. I'm going to go to the gap key 1 arrival. I'm going to go to the ILS 14 from gap key and just check that everything here is looking good. I want to move that up to here, and I'm going to click execute, and then I'm going to go gap key up to here and execute. So we're going to go direct to gap key. And at gap key, we're going to aim for the ILS 14. So that's our plan. By the way, you may have noticed that cabin altitude is still shown in red, and that's because that's above the maximum altitude that the airplane sensors want to see, right, which is 8,000 feet. So that's going to stay in red until we get below 8,000 feet. 10,000 is actually pretty good altitude for this Etops, diversion in the event of a decompression, because the air is thick enough that you can breathe. It's not bad. Of course, if you have passengers that have maybe certain kinds of illnesses, you might provide them some additional supplementary oxygen. Okay, now, one other thing I want to do is check on the runway length at Mauritius. It's 11,056 feet long. I would prefer not to have an overweight landing at Mauritius, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to start dumping some fuel. That way we can... Oops, where is that? There it is. Okay, we're currently at 56.6 tons of fuel. I want to start dumping some fuel so that we can reduce our landing weight as significantly as possible, because we're landing at flaps 20. So first thing I'm going to do is set the cross feeds on. That way that limits the likelihood of a fuel imbalance between the left and right tanks. And I'm going to turn the center fuel pumps on as well. And let's go ahead and arm the fuel jettison system. Let's unguard the nozzles there. And let's go ahead, make sure that the fuel jettison system is armed. Indeed it is. You can see it marked there, left and right nozzles. Let's go ahead and start jettisoning some fuel. All right, with apologies to all the blue whales in the ocean below us, actually this fuel should dissipate before it hits the ocean anyways, so it should be okay. But we're jettisoning fuel, and it's going to take about 7 minutes, which should be enough time. I don't mind letting it jettison automatically, but it's going to jettison for the next 7 minutes to get down to our maximum landing weight. So we want to go from 54.4 tons of fuel there, all the way down to 43 tons in order to be at our maximum landing weight. So that's going to take about 7 minutes before that happens. So we're going to let that continue. We're going to wait until as much of the fuel is out of the center tanks as well. Really want to reduce my weight as much as possible. And then we should be all good. And I'm going to pull up my handy dandy QSIM planner calculator here so that I can calculate my runway length required at Mauritius. Foxtrot India Mike Papa, runway 14, anticipating landing at probably like 251,000 kilograms maybe. Yeah, I want to definitely set auto brake level 3, so that's what I'm going to plan on, auto brake level 3. Now in FS2 crew, I can actually set a landing configuration flaps 20, that's great. Okay, level 3 APU, yeah, no, let's disregard that, that's not necessary. Alright, let's disregard all that. Okay, let me catch up on chat here. Hey, Castillos, how's it going? Just a droid, how is it going? 107% N2, yeah, but the thing is, just a droid, it's 107% N2, but it's only 85.3% N1. 85.2% N1. So we're okay. As long as that doesn't turn red, we're okay. We're not overstressing that engine too much. I was just going off the Etops diversion speed in the flight plan, which was 320 knots. At least I hope I got that right. I think it was 320 knots. So that's why we're going that fast. But the engine is not being overstressed at all. 84, 85% N1, 107% N2. We're all good. All right. Oh yeah, I want to turn off the fuel pumps here, center fuel pumps, because Yeah, because we're done with the center tanks. 5 minutes to go before we jettison enough fuel to get down our maximum landing weight. Let's make sure actually that we finish off the last not-normal here, which is cabin altitude. So we've donned the oxygen mask, established crew communications. We've checked the cabin altitude and rate. Cabin altitude is uncontrollable. We've had some kind of major issue, so you're gonna have to click on no there. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. Let's go to page 2. Controllable, no, continue normal operation. So that checklist has been completed. We did a memory items earlier, which basically covered everything in that checklist, but it's always good to kind of check that off as well. All right. Micah says save the turtles. 10,000 feet, ladies and gentlemen, 10,000 feet. That is plenty of altitude for the fuel to dissipate and evaporate. You know, so it's going to evaporate before it ever touches the ocean. But that being said, it's not a good thing, right? It's not a good thing. We got to do what we can, given everything that's going on with the climate these days. Let's go to the fuel page here. 4 minutes to go. We're doing okay. Still jettisoning fuel back there. We're flying through the clouds. Unfortunately, you know what that means. Since we're flying through the clouds, ladies and gentlemen, you know what that means. You know what that means.
2 more minutes. They could be miles off course.
That's impossible. They're on instruments.
That's right, we're flying on instruments. I will never get tired of that clip. I'm never gonna get tired of it. Let me catch up on chat here. I know I missed a ton earlier. Oh, sorry about that, Raze. I don't know why Streamlabs does not like caps, Raze. Sorry about that, Raze. I don't know why Streamlabs decided to get rid of it. Castillo's, that was from the classic documentary Airplane. It was a documentary shot in the 1970s featuring a yet-to-be-named major airline in the United States. You have to watch it. Everything you need to know about aviation and pilot culture and aviation culture in general, you will learn from the movie Airplane. In fact, you know it was a serious movie because it had an exclamation mark in the title. It was Airplane, exclamation mark. So just go to imdb.com, search for Leslie Nielsen or Airplane, and you should be able to find all the details you need on this fine documentary. Once again, the clip from the documentary Airplane was this one right here.
2 more minutes. They could be miles off course.
That's impossible. They're on instruments.
So that was from the documentary Airplane. That's right, Micah. It was a documentary. It was a documentary. That's what I'm telling myself. It's one of the most quotable movies ever made, especially if you're a pilot, of course. Okay, we've got another 90 miles to go to Foxtrot India Mike Papa. 0506 Zulu is our ETA. It's currently 0449 Zulu, so we've just got about another 16 minutes to go before we land. Leslie Nielsen. Castillo's, just look for Airplane. Just look for Airplane movie and you should find it. That's right. Ray says it's pouring outside where you live. It was pouring in La Réunion, where we left earlier. Let's see, what did I miss in chat? Lokestar, it wasn't a command, and actually I disabled the sound commands. I can get those on later, but I disabled the sound commands because, you know, those can get a bit distracting when you're dealing with all this stuff, right? So we can get those on later. But the video thing is not a command. I wish I could set it up as a command. I don't know how. So all it is a scene that I've added to my Streamlabs list of scenes. So it's a scene that just has one video clip, and that's that video clip that you saw. And in order to get that, I just switch back and forth. In fact, I'm never going to get tired of it. We're just going to switch back to it right now.
2 more minutes. They could be miles off course.
That's impossible. They're on instruments.
That's impossible. We're on instruments. Okay, let's keep going here. What did I miss in chat earlier? Oh, Micah was saying earlier, I am your father. Totally missed that with the with what was going on. That was so unexpected. Oh my god, I'm so sorry about this, Raze. It just got rid of all your chat messages just because of those stupid caps. I do apologize. I need to start fixing my Streamlabs bot issues, because it just starts moderating like nobody's business. I don't know why it does that. Let's see, what else did I miss earlier? Reyes was absolutely right earlier when it said it can lead to mental impairment and incapacitation. Totally right. Yeah, Reyes, Helios Flight 522 was a good example of that, just catching up on chat from earlier. Yeah, that's totally right. That was a horrible event. In fact, if I remember correctly on that flight, it was a really bad situation. Actually, wait, so we've jettisoned the fuel that we need to jettison. The jettison system has stopped operating because we're down to our maximum landing weight. Let's go ahead now and actually, one second. I want to try something here real quick. Nope, we're good. Okay. All right. So fuel jettison is stopped. Let's go ahead and turn off the fuel jettison system. We'll guard the nozzle switches and we'll disarm the fuel jettison system. Make sure the cross feeds are still on between the left and right tanks, and we're all good there. Okay. So let's do our calculations now for our landing at Mauritius. So just very quickly going to go to init ref here. Okay, our gross weight right now is 251,300 pounds. Correction, 251,300 kilograms. Want to make sure I don't mix those up. Just going to put that into QSim Planner here. Actually, let me show you real quick what I'm up to. So this is a fantastic tool. We talked about this during our last engine failure stream called QSim Planner. Just absolutely fantastic. It's completely free. Strongly recommend you get it. It lets you do takeoff and landing calculations for various aircraft. So there's a bunch of profiles included by default for the Airbus aircraft, like the A319 all the way up to A321, the various 737 models, 747 models, and 777s as well, and a 787-8. So we're going to do our calculations for the 777-300ER, Foxtrot India Mike Papa, Sir C. Busagar Airport, runway 14. We've downloaded the METAR, and flaps 20, one reverse thrust, one reverser operative, auto brake level 3, and approach speed VREF addition of 5 knots, so we're all good there. So we're going to calculate that. That gives us a landing distance of 8,562 feet with 2,500 feet approximately of runway remaining. So that's good enough for me. I'm going to go with auto brake level 3, and that should be good enough for me. All right, so that's looking good. Let's go ahead and start setting up for the descent, or start for the approach here. Flaps 20, 169. Let's go ahead and do our approach brief. Are you ready for the approach brief?
Go ahead. 10,000 feet.
Okay, through 10,000. Just very quickly going to pull up my METAR at
Cabin crew,
at this
prepare for
airport. Where is it? Where is it? I'm gonna have to go to active sky 1 second here. Boy, I hope this doesn't mess up. Oh, actually it's working just fine. Okay, conditions at Mauritius. Wind 080 at 8 knots, visibility greater than 10 kilometers, clouds scattered at 1,700. So, you know what that means. For a small period of time during this flight, we're gonna be doing this. So, anyway, wind 080 at 8, visibility greater than 10 kilometers. Clouds scattered at 1700, temperature 21, dew point 20, and QNH is 1019er. So I'm going to set that up here. 1019er. Okay. All right, and let me start setting things up here using the approach chart. So we're going to be doing the gap key 1 arrival for runway 14. It's an RNAV arrival. So gap key onto Esper. Esper is the initial approach fix for the ILS 14. So let's brief the ILS 14 here. Okay, frequency is 109.9er. Let's go to RadNav page here, 109.9er. Final approach course 136. And let's set our decision altitude up top here. Decision altitude is going to be 456 feet. Cat D landing today, 456. Okay. 456 feet. Airport elevation 183 feet. MSAs within 25 nautical miles of the Plaisance VOR is 3,100 feet to the north, the east, 2,600 feet to the south, and 3,800 feet to the west. And the approach is initial approach fix, gap key, about 4,000, onto Esper about 4,000, then continuing on to 13 DME from the VOR, at which point we'll intercept the localizer at 4,000 feet, and we'll intercept the glide slope shortly after at Bigra. And Bigra onto Cure Pipe onto 4 DME, and we're going down the glide slope at that point all the way to the runway, hopefully. And let's see. Runway length 11,056 feet. We should have plenty of runway remaining. Once again, just because you know, we're not overweight like we were last time, but it's still a pretty heavy aircraft. We're landing flaps 20, so I want to make sure the flare is not too abrupt, right? And by the way, actually, this reminds me, something we were talking about last time that I failed to finish my thought on. Ooh boy, I forgot to start my descent, didn't I? Let's start my descent right now. VNAV. Let's slow down. There we go. Let's get the speed brake out so we can slow down. VNAV path. Very important to start slowing down. But I forgot to talk about this last time. So, hey, who knew we were going to see Mauritius again? You know, I totally thought we were never going to see this again, at least for another day. But here we are, we're seeing Mauritius again. But last time, I was trying to talk about this a little bit, but I couldn't get to finish my thought. Essentially, you know, airplanes, right, are certified to land at 10 feet per second at least, right? They're certified to land. The landing gear is certified to withstand landing loads at a landing rate of about 10 feet per second at maximum landing weight. And they're certified to withstand landing loads at a landing rate of 6 feet per second at maximum takeoff weight, right? So essentially, you know, we can land at about 600 feet per second. We're not going to overstress the landing gear. That's the point there. You know, just an FYI regarding what the options are there. Okay, we're continuing to descend here. I might get a notch of. Actually, no, we're good. Actually, 1 second. I'm going to start slowing down. Let's go to selected speed mode. Let's go to 210 for now. Close to that. Okay, so despite that, right, because we're going faster, I gotta kind of be a little careful how much I flare so that I don't balloon too much. Even if I balloon, right, we've got plenty of runway, we should be okay. But I don't have to worry like I did last time about touching down too hard, you know, because we're below our maximum landing weight, so we should be okay. That was the only point there in regard to special considerations. What else? And we're doing a flaps 20 landing, obviously, because we have one engine. So that way, you know, in case we need to go around for any reason, we're not going to be dealing with the added drag of a flaps 20 go around. We can immediately retract the flaps to flaps 5 for a flaps 20 landing. If we decide to do a go around, we can retract the flaps to flaps 5 and go around, you know, and not have to work that engine that hard. So that's the benefit of doing a flaps 20 landing with one engine in operative. Okay, we're continuing to descend here, but I think that's our approach checklist. Or our approach brief, rather. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, co-pilot's going to go through her descent flow. She's going to set the auto brake and everything to level 3. I hope she does that soon. I hope she does that soon. I'm going to slow the airplane down here while that's going on. Let me catch up on chat. That's right, Monster Cake. Indeed I am. Is she gonna do this or what? I hope she does. If she doesn't, I can do it. No big deal. Let's go flaps 3. Descent checklist.
Stand by. Descent checklist. Recall. Checked. Notes.
Checked.
Auto brake level 3. Landing data.
Set and checked.
VREF 168. Minimum 200 feet. Approach briefing.
Completed.
Descent checklist complete.
Flaps 1.
Speed check flaps 1.
Approach checklist.
Altimeters
1019 are set.
1019. Approach checklist complete.
Flaps 5.
Speed check flaps 5.
Okay. Nice clear skies here, so that helps a lot. Micah, I use PFPX. For this, at least, I use PFPX. I use SimBrief for a lot of my FS Labs A320 stuff, and all the new Misfit stuff, I use SimBrief. For the PMDG aircraft, I've got some great PFPX profiles, I think from PMDG, or people who've flown PMDG aircraft a lot, so they're pretty accurate for PMDG. Okay, let's go ahead and arm the approach here. Loc and glide slope in white. And let's plan on making this a good one, if we can. Alright, we're doing okay here. Speed brake extended. Whoops. Gotta make sure I'd retract that. Well, 9 should be good for now, actually. Okay, we'll keep it at flaps 5. And we're coming into land over Mauritius. Boy, I gotta tell you, when you fly Misfits for a while, P3D scenery just makes you want to cry, doesn't it? Generic oxygen, generic textures. It feels so sad just looking at this. But at least you have a highly detailed add-on, like an aircraft add-on you can fly, so that helps. Pilot Krish, how's it going? Pilot Krish, I've got X-Plane. I fly the FlyJ Sim 727 and 737 in X-Plane, and I've got the Kolimata Concorde in X-Plane as well. So I fly X-Plane 11 plenty. I've done some streams in X-Plane 11 as well. Emilia Noir says, actually, no, that's not really, well, it kind of depends on your settings. For me, it doesn't look bad at all. For me, it doesn't look bad, but you got to set your settings a little bit higher. Depends on your system, depends on your settings, and most importantly, depends on your internet connection. Okay, radio altimeter alive.
Cabin crew, take your seats.
Flaps 15.
Speed check, flaps 15.
So down at 180 there. Okay, VNAV altitude, about to capture the glide slope there. And let's check on, okay, there we go. Flaps 20, 168. VREF is going to be 173. Correction, V approach is going to be 173. VREF is 168. So going to plan by that. Yeah, totally, Amelia. That makes sense. Lokstar says you thought about the lead. That's right, Lokstar. Lokstar, this is Sparta. Totally missed that earlier. How did I miss it? This is madness. This is Sparta. What are you talking about? Okay, we got the runway up ahead, got a visual. Let's go ahead and slow down our final approach speed here and start setting up. Gear down. Flaps 20.
Speed check, flaps 20.
Landing checklist.
Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Flaps.
Flaps 20. Set and checked.
Landing checklist complete.
Visual.
Checked.
Landing.
Checked. Checked.
Okay, got a visual. We're landing. Hopefully. Hopefully no go-arounds in this one. Yeah, Pilot Krish, it's pretty good. It's, there's no, if you've got a sim of choice right now, whether it's X-Plane or P3D, honestly, you can still enjoy it, right? Because you've got a lot of high-quality, very detailed aircraft add-ons still available. So, yeah, you can totally enjoy what you have right now. I don't know why it controls both my throttles. I'm trying to control just one. Oh well, doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go ahead and disconnect the autopilot here, and I'm going to take over and fly manually at this point. I'll just let the auto throttle control that engine. It actually does a pretty good job of doing it by itself, so I'm just going to let the autopilot control, or correction, the auto throttle control the thrust in that engine. It does a pretty good job. All right. Got a little bit of crosswind there from the left, and I'm a little high, it looks like, on glide slope. This approach feels a bit steeper.
Approaching minimums. 300.
We're going to take a look at the glide slope angle on the chart later. Should have noted that earlier.
$100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, got plenty of runway here. Let's get those reversers armed. Float a little bit more than I wanted to, but hey, what can you do? Still got plenty of runway though, so it should be okay.
Reversers normal.
Okay, just gonna let it roll out here. 80 knots, reversers stowed, and I'm just gonna let it roll out here. Manual braking. Just gonna let it roll out here. Don't want to overheat the brakes.
2,000 feet remaining.
Just gonna let it roll out. Okay, we'll bring it to a full stop here. Let's get that reverser back, or correction, let's get that speed brake stowed. Let's turn off the weather radar so we don't burn anybody or fry anybody that's coming in to inspect the airplane. And let's check on the brake temps here. There's the gear. There's the temperatures on the tires and brakes and trucks. Actually, not too bad at all. Didn't overheat the brakes at all. That's great to see. Okay, as usual, right? Once again, at a completely different airport, we're going to have the fire trucks rush out to the airplane, inspect it, check on the damage. By the way, typically when you have a dual failure scenario like that, where you had a decompression combined with an engine failure, most probable cause is an uncontained engine failure that led to some shrapnel going through the fuselage, which in turn caused the rapid decompression. So something like this would be really, really messy. Like, we'd probably be shutting down both engines. Hopefully you wouldn't have to evacuate the airplane, but this would be a really, really messy situation in real life if it actually happened. But there you go. There is another engine failure scenario. I do apologize to all our paying passengers in chat who didn't get to make it to Bangkok today. It's a real pity because the flight crew was looking forward to some fantastic Thai food in Bangkok, but we're going to have to settle for what they have here in beautiful Mauritius. so welcome to Mauritius, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Let's check out some replays, why don't we? That's what we're all here for. Let's check out some replays of that floaty landing. Let's pull up ChasePlane replays here, and we'll check out some replays of that. Let's see how we did. All right. And, the usual question I know we're going to get, for anybody who's thinking about, requesting a refund, this is, while we're wearing, this airplane is wearing the paint job of Air Austral, there's no affiliation to the real Air Austral. So the website for this airline is virtual-totally, not real fake hyphen air austral hyphen .com, and you can go to the complaints section on their website and request a refund, and sometime in the next 30 years they should be able to process your refund. Boy, it landed a little bit off centerline there. It really let that wind that wind take me off the centerline. But it's a pretty wide runway, so it's all right. Pretty wide runway. That's right, Micah. These investigations and interviews never stop. You know, I was actually talking to maintenance right before this flight about. Let's take a look at our tower view. I was actually talking to maintenance right before this flight about what looked like a really kind of thin spot on the skin of the fuselage. You know, it was right over the wing on the fuselage, and I was like, hey, you know, shouldn't that be looked at? And the maintenance guy was like, no, it's all good, you know. Tex, that's the name of the owner of the company. He wears a big cowboy hat, and they call him Tex because he's from Texas. He was like, hey, that ain't no big deal. You know, oh, it's all good. And clearly he was right. That thinning of the skin of the fuselage didn't cause any problems at all on this flight. Okay. That wasn't a bad landing. The only thing that I was not happy about is I got way off center line, but that was not a bad landing at all. All right, let me catch up on chat. Micah says you feel like you might have seen this someplace before. Yeah. Just a droid, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Lokestar says just patch it up with speed tape. Absolutely, yeah. You know, this airline, not the Rail Air Austral, but the one that I mentioned with the really long website name that I mentioned earlier. Once again, you know, don't forget, you can rewind the stream if you need to go on that website and post a complaint. They've got a really nice complaint section, honed through years of practice processing complaints in a very short time span of a few decades. But you know, feel free to hop on that website at any point and file your complaint regarding this flight. What kind of view do we want for the next replay? Aha, yes. Let's do a wing one, a wing view. That's right. Totally. I gotta tell you though, these these Etops failure scenarios are really, really interesting. You know, kind of learning a lot about kind of what went into the design of these airplanes, and kind of, you know, a little bit of how the sausage is made, right, in regard to how some of the big manufacturers like Boeing in the past have worked with the airlines, or correction, with the regulators like the FAA and EASA. You know, the history of how the Boeing 777 got the Etops 180 certification way back in the 1990s is, there should be a book written on it. It's a really, really interesting history, because they were pioneering something that had never been done before, right? In the sense that up until that point, all the airplanes, the aircraft types that had ETOPS certifications were aircraft that had been in service for many, many years at that point. You know, like the 767, the A300, 757, etc. The 777 was the first completely clean sheet new aircraft design that had to get ETOPS certification right off the bat, you know, when it launched into commercial service. And up until that point, you know, the FAA required both the airline and the manufacturer to get ETOPS certification through many, many years and months of proven service, right? And obviously that's something they could not do if they wanted to sell the 777. So it was just a fantastic story. It's worth reading up on for sure. Okay, what view do we want next? Let's do a gear view. Yeah, I like belly cam. This is a fantastic view. Right behind the trucks there. Yeah, totally, Micah. This is tomato shade. So it's a tomato shade reflection profile for the PMDG 777, and it does look good. I do like it a lot. Thank you, Lokestar. I do appreciate it. Higher management, it basically is comprised of techs and that's it. It's just text. Just look for the guy with the really, really big cowboy hat and the super cavalier attitude. You might see him chewing tobacco every once in a while. That's the guy you want to talk to. Tex. And he's got a Texas accent. And he's from Texas. Did I mention that? So you can find him. Mike, I think there is, Micah. I'm pretty sure Inibils might have one. Actually, wait a second. I thought Quality Wings had PBR in the 787 by default. I thought they have that already. But if not, there are reflection profiles available, because I definitely have PBR on the Quality Wings 787. Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about that was the just got blown right off centerline. I did not. I was so concerned about a smooth, soft touchdown that I just didn't realize how far the wind was drifting me. Let's see, what do we want next? Let's do this one. Actually, wait, let's do that one. Yeah, let's do that one. Absolutely. All right. Okay, one last wing view, and then we'll call it a day, folks. This is super fun. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know I did. Okay, let's see. We'll go with the music choice we had last time. Some more JD McPherson should be all good as we close out. Okay, we'll catch one final replay, then we'll go to some cinematic shots, get some replay music going, and we'll call it an end to this fine stream, folks. But thank you all for hanging out. This was super fun. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, totally, Micah. Jeff Midden, how's it going? Jeff is asking, do I have manuals for the aircraft? Yeah, Jeff, so PMDG, you know, I'm not sure, Jeff, how familiar you are with all the add-on developers in the flight sim world, but PMDG, Precision Manuals Development Group, don't know why they call themselves that, but they're the ones that make this add-on. The, oops. 1 second, just gonna go into, yeah, they're the ones that make the 777 for P3D. They have they work, you know, they've actually licensed their products from Boeing. So they've got, you know, all the full, like, Boeing FCOMs, FCTM, and the QRH as well. So they bundle the FCOM, the QRH, and I'm pretty sure they have the FCTM as well you know, you get that all in the package when you download their product, when you buy it from them. Yeah, so I've got all of that. I've got the QRH, FCOM, FCTM, everything that they've bundled with their add-on. All right, folks. That was fun. Let's bring it back a ways. Hold on 1 second. 211. Let's bring back to about there, and we'll call it a day. All right, everybody that hung out today, thanks so much. I do apologize that we couldn't get some fantastic Thai food in Bangkok. I was really looking forward to it. I don't know about you folks. But hey, you know, we did get to learn how to deal with a decompression combined with a single engine failure on an Etops flight. And can you really put a price on hypoxia, knowledge, and a little learning every once in a while? Hope you all enjoyed it. Look forward to hopefully to catching you on our next stream. I don't know when I'll be streaming again next. Hopefully a stream again midweek and next week, but I'm not sure. Things are getting a little busy for me personally. Just got a lot of things going on, so I'm not sure when the next time is that I'll see all you folks and do a stream, but hopefully sometime soon. In the meantime, though, I hope you all stay safe and healthy with everything that's going on in the world, and hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and look forward to catching you hopefully next time. Y'all take care. Blue skies and tailwinds. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Come into my folks.